Hi, welcome back to Outdoor Gear and Skills. Today I wanted to talk about these small OB tampons and what I'm doing with them. I've had a couple of these for a little bit, and I've kind of thrown them in first aid kits and different things like that. And, I think it would be good for like nosebleeds, or if you've got an open wound or cut or something like that. And several months ago, I was doing some first aid. My friend Gina is a paramedic, and she was talking about, showing us and some youth how to stop bleeding and kind of what it takes. And I was really kind of shocked about how much gauze you need to put down into a wound if someone is like stabbed or shot, or, they have some kind of puncture or something like that, and you watch TV shows, movies, whatever, they're always grabbing a rag and kind of just laying it on there. The reality is if you've got a hole in your body like that, blood's going to be gushing out. You're not just covering it with a t-shirt or something. And so, I just want to say I'm not a paramedic. I'm not an EMT, but, we talk about these people being the first responders, but I think the reality is that people that are calling 911 or that are administering first aid or CPR are really the first responders. And then what we call first responders are the professionals that show up and go to work and put all that training into place. And so, I appreciate them, but I also want to be prepared so that if something happens to one of my, family members or friends, that I can do something about it until help arrives. So, we lived out in the country for 8 years in Oregon, and, it took a bit to get some assistance. We had some volunteer firefighters and EMTs. So I just want to be able to help respond and something like that. So I have just carried a couple of these for a while. And so what I've done is just taken these. It's a Johnson and Johnson first aid kit. I don't know. I think it's $3.50 at Walmart, something like that. And I always go in there and I add things to it, but I've already got one in here. You can see right there, trying to keep it from falling out, but there's one right there. I put additional band-aids in it. I put super glue, but I love the fact that those are so small you can shove them into a small kit like this. So I went to New Jersey this weekend, and I just started thinking, okay, what is in my backpack that I don't need anymore? What don't I need? So I had a list of a couple of things. So I sent my wife, though, to get these. So I'm not a tampon expert, but I do like these. There's 18 regular, 12 super, and 10 super plus. So I'm going to bust this open. But I also, in my bags and things like that, will carry tampons with applicators, just because I have been with family members when, all of a sudden, something's gone, timing's been off, and all of a sudden, someone I know needs a tampon. And if we're out hiking or whatever, I have run into that before. So I just started carrying them. So I want to open this up and kind of see what these look like. I have not busted open a box of these before. These were just a couple that my wife gave me. So as I'm opening this up, it looks like it's got a different color coding on it. These ones are yellow, but it's the same size. So let me show you what we're looking at for different size. And that's actually, I think, going to be pretty good for, my use and what I'm trying to do. So these are the sizes of these three, and it looks like they are maybe color coded. I don't know. But there's the three different sizes. So you can, I think, see this is the biggest, and then the middle, and the smallest, which is the size I have, if that is any indication to you. And so with that, I think I'm going to throw a couple of each size, in my bags. But again, maybe that one's a little too much um, for a nosebleed and that kind of thing. So I'm not quite sure. So what I'm going to do is just open this one real quick and take the plastic off it and see what it does. But that was really easy to pull that plastic off, and then I could shove that up my nose for trying to stop bleeding and kind of pinch it off. So that small size works really well for that. And so I think when I am hiking a lot alone, when I'm mountain biking, I might be in a situation where if I get myself busted up, I might need something like that to shove into a wound. And so that's kind of my thought on it. These things are so light, they literally don't weigh anything. I could throw that in a pocket of a bag or in these little first aid kits. They don't take up much room, they don't weigh anything. I don't know how much the box costs. I didn't think to ask my wife, but being able to have something like that I think would be very helpful. My youngest son, years ago when he was, in his early teens, would get these bloody noses that just would not stop. And we were out in American Fork, Utah at the time. We were at a gas station, and he just got this bloody nose that was gushing, and we could not stop it. We were almost to the point of, either having to call 911 or rush him to the hospital. We're just using napkins, all kinds of things. We finally get it to stop. But had I had something like this, then I at least could have shoved that up there and tried to stop the bleeding, because using napkins down here like this is nowhere near as effective as shoving that up in your nose and then trying to, hold that. So that looks wonderful. I know that's very impressive. So it's just something that I wanted to add and just give me a little extra. It may be like the chain breaker tool that I carry when I go mountain biking. It is the tool that you use when your chain breaks to put it back together, because you have to push that pin through and you can't use anything else. Pliers don't work. You've got to have that tool to line it up. I've used that 2 times in my life, mountain biking for 30 years, but I still carry the tool because it's invaluable if I have to employ it. So to me, it's worth the wait. These don't weigh anything, so I'm going to be carrying these. So I'd love to hear, do you, have you been carrying these yourself? Do you do something different? Do you think I'm like up in the night, which is possible? But I'd love to hear in the comment section what your thoughts are. And as always, thanks for watching Outdoor Gear and Skills, and we'll see you out there.